Good morning, boys and girls. Welcome back. We're on the last chapter of our story about the race to the Ark. Previously, on Race to the Ark, they got Shadow the wolf. Remember, they were looking for the male wolf, and they had to run, and they had to outrun Satan or Japheth? No, not Japheth. He's one of the sons of Noah. Anyway, Noah ran to meet them. "You made it," he shouted, "and you found the male wolf. But what took you so long?" Peter pulled the hinge out of the bag. "It's a long story." Noah looked up as dark clouds filled the sky. We don't have much time." They ran up the hill and climbed the long ramp to the Ark door. Japheth was waiting for them with a large hammer and nails. He quickly repaired the door. Remember, they were looking for that hinge. They needed a hinge, and they went to the ironsmith to get a new hinge for the door. "Now we are ready," said Noah. "Everyone into the Ark." Peter went with Noah as they led Shadow to his cage and took one last look through the Ark to make sure the family and all the animals were in place. "Oh no," said Noah. "We are missing another animal." "Well, Hank can find it," said Peter. "Come on, Hank." "I do not think Hank is big enough to handle this animal," said Noah. "Which one is missing?" asked Mary. "The lion," answered Noah. Now remember, boys and girls, they're trying to solve the message. If they don't solve it, they're stuck back in Noah's time forever. That's Peter, Mary, and Hank the dog. Trust God, He will rescue. And I bet you already can figure out that it must be Billy. He can rescue Billy. Or Janie. Or me. Well, let's see what that last word's going to be. Chapter 13, The Rainbow. Peter headed into the woods with Mary and Hank, with more dark clouds filled the sky. Peter stopped. "What if we don't find him, the lion?" "What if we don't find the scroll?" said Mary. "Oh, I almost forgot about that," said Peter. "How could you forget about the scroll?" said Mary. "If we don't solve it today, we'll be stuck here forever." Lightning struck and thunder rolled. Hank barked and ran to the edge of the woods. Peter followed. "Did you find the lion?" "Not exactly," said an evil voice. Peter stopped in his tracks and stared up at the dark ruler. That's Satan. Peter's heart pounded in his chest. The dark ruler pulled the scroll out of a velvet bag. "Are you looking for this?" "Give it back!" shouted Peter. Your scroll might have amazing power, but I cannot figure out how to use it. I will give it back if you join me," said the dark ruler. His cold, dark eyes squinted. "Then we will destroy the Ark, and we can rule the world." "We will never join you," said Peter. "Then I will destroy you and the scroll," shouted the dark ruler. Roar! The lion crashed through the trees and stood face to face with the dark ruler. "No!" cried the dark ruler. Roar! The lion leapt at him. "You will not stop my plan." The dark ruler dropped the scroll and swung his staff at the lion, and it sent the lion rolling. The lion shook his golden mane and stood up on his massive paws. And a bolt of light sliced through the sky. It hit the dark ruler and knocked him back into the woods. Then the bolt of light transformed into, guess who? Michael. He drew his blazing sword. "I thought I might see you," said the dark ruler. You will not win, shouted Michael. Who is going to stop me? We are. Michael spread his mighty wings and flew straight at the dark ruler. The lion leapt and joined Michael. So you've got Michael, God's angel, and you've got the lion. Sparks flew from Michael's sword and branches snapped under the lion's powerful claws. It was a blur of fur and light and darkness. Ruff, ruff! No, Hank, said Peter. Stay here. Hurry, said Mary. Get the scroll. Peter picked up the scroll, and then he turned and headed toward the ark with Mary and Hank close behind. And as they ran up the hill again to meet Noah, Peter heard roars and hisses echoing through the woods. And then it was completely quiet. Peter looked up as thunder rumbled in the sky, and a jagged fork of lightning lit up the darkness, and rain began to fall. Quick, quick, on the ark, come with us, said Noah, standing at the top of the ramp. We can't, said Mary. But you will drown, said Noah. No, God will help us, said Peter. God started to shut the door of the ark. Wait, the lion, shouted Peter. The huge door continued to shut. Roar! The lion bolted out of the woods. He made a mighty leap into the ark just as the door was closing. The rain fell more quickly, and water rushed from cracks in the ground. What are we going to do? Said Mary. We have to solve the scroll, said Peter, or we will drown. Peter looked down the hill toward the city. Water crashed through the city walls. It rose and covered the temple of the snake. We have to hurry, said Peter. The flood is coming. And he unrolled the scroll. We need the last word, Mary said, her voice shaking. Trust God. He will rescue. Noah? Said Peter. Nothing happened to the scroll. Trust God. He will rescue animals? Said Mary. Nothing happened. The water reached Peter and Mary's knees. It rose above their shoulders. Hank paddled in the water, and Peter and Mary struggled to stay afloat. The rain pounded harder. Peter knew he couldn't stay afloat much longer. He threw the scroll to Mary. Maybe you can solve it, and God will rescue you. He took one more deep breath before he was pulled under the water. He saw Mary's legs kicking and Hank paddling. And then Peter saw something glowing above the water. He struggled to the top one more time. Mary was holding the scroll above the water. Peter had solved the last word. Trust God, He will rescue. I bet you know it. Trust God, He will rescue you. He took one more deep breath before he was pulled under the water, and he saw Mary's and kicking and paddling. Peter had solved the last word. Trust God, He will rescue you. And the water whirled in a circle away for them. Peter, Mary, and Hank stood soaking wet and safe in the library. Just like the last time, the red wax seal transformed into a golden medallion, and it was inscribed with the shape of the ark. Great Uncle Solomon raced into the library. What happened? Peter told Great Uncle Solomon about their amazing adventure. He told them about all the animals and how huge the ark was. Mary told him about the temple of the snake and the dark ruler. Hank shook and flew water everywhere, what dogs do when they get all wet. Great Uncle Solomon wiped his glasses with his shirt. This is an amazing adventure. Peter pulled the journal out of the leather bag. I wrote all about it in your journal. I just hope Noah and his family were okay, said Mary. Great Uncle Solomon went to one of the shelves in the library and grabbed his big red Bible. "Let me tell you the rest of the story," he said. He told them that it rained 40 days. That's longer than a month. 40 days and 40 nights. And then Great Uncle Solomon told them about the ark that landed on top of Mount Ararat. But Noah and his family and the animals had to wait a whole year before the water dried up and they could get off the ark. Talk about being quarantined, right? "They were in the ark for a whole year?" asked Mary. "Yes," said Great Uncle Solomon. "Well, I am glad we packed so much food in there," said Peter. "Yes," said Great Uncle Solomon. "God made sure they had everything they needed." He turned the page of his Bible. He told them that Noah's family and the animals got safely off the ark, and God made a rainbow in the sky as a promise to never destroy the earth with the flood again. "It was like a new beginning for God's creation," said Great Uncle Solomon. "Well, what happened to the ark?" asked Mary. "Years ago, I went on an archaeological dig on Mount Ararat in search of it," he said. "Did you find it?" said Mary. "No, I only found one thing." "What?" said Mary. "Wait here," said Great Uncle Solomon. He came back with something wrapped in a red cloth. And when he unwrapped it, Peter gasped. That means he did this. Great Uncle Solomon was holding a rusty hinge. "Can I see it?" asked Peter. He turned the hinge over and rubbed some dirt off the back and the initials TC. Remember, that was for Tubal-Cain, the brother of Noah who made the hinge? The initials TC were engraved there. "This is the hinge we bought from Tubal-Cain for the ark door," Peter said. Great Uncle Solomon stared for a moment. "I knew it. The ark was real." "Of course it was," said Peter. "You just need to trust God." Mary looked out the window. "Hey, it stopped raining." Hank ran and got his ball to play. "Let's go outside," said Great Uncle Solomon. They walked out the front door, and Peter pointed in the sky. "Look! And there's a rainbow!" He smiled as he thought of Noah and his family seeing the first rainbow in the sky. Peter looked at Mary, and he wondered where their next adventure would take them. That's book 2. So remember, boys and girls, trust God. He will rescue you. Sometimes that's hard to do, but if we practice it, we'll get better and better at it. And whenever you see a rainbow, remember God's promise to never destroy the earth like that again. Now, since the end, I have the 3rd book here. I'm not going to start it till next time, but the 3rd book is about the Great Escape. So I'll read the back of it to give you a little bit of a preview. Join siblings Peter and Mary and their dog Hank as they discover ancient scrolls that transport them back to exciting moments in Bible history. In The Great Escape, Mary and Peter journey to the desert of ancient Egypt. Some of you may have studied that in school at the time of Exodus. That's the 2nd book in the Bible. Follow along as they witness the devastation of the plagues. A plague is like a sickness, like the coronavirus. The plague is stuff that is bad, that plagues us, bothers us, hurts us. There were many at this time. Get chased by a panther, that's like a large black leopard. And battle Pharaoh, that's the name of a king of Egypt. Pharaoh's cunning advisor, the great magician. Can they solve the secret of the scroll as the waters of the Red Sea part for the Israelites? I think I'm going to like this one because it has a plague of snakes and a plague of locusts and a plague of frogs. And you think, how can that be bad? Well, snakes, yeah. So I hope you come back next week for the beginning of Book 3, The Great Escape. Until then, be good, be kind, be healthy, be safe, and know that God will rescue you and me and all of us. Till next time, have a great week.